Welcome to my new old coins channel. Here I'll bring you fascinating stories about American coins that may look ordinary but can hold amazing history, hidden details, and valuable lessons. You'll learn something new in every video, because sometimes even the smallest thing can change your life. So let's start this exciting journey together. And don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. Let's start. What if a quarter that looks completely ordinary at first glance is actually hiding a story that goes far beyond its 25-cent face value? Before you spend that 2002 Indiana State quarter, stop for just a moment and turn it over, because this little coin is connected to one of the biggest collecting movements in modern American history, one of America's most famous racing traditions, and a design that was chosen from thousands of ideas. But there is something even more important to understand. Not every 2002 Indiana quarter is rare, and not every unusual-looking mark means you have found a valuable error. The real excitement begins when you learn how to separate an ordinary coin from an interesting one. So today, instead of simply putting a price tag on this quarter, let's follow its story from the moment Indiana's design was created to the moment a collector might discover one decades later in an old jar of change. The year was 2002, and the United States Mint was moving through the enormously popular 50-state quarters program. 5 states received their own quarter design that year, and Indiana was the 4th state represented in 2002 and the 19th state in the overall series. The U.S. Mint released the Indiana quarter beginning August 2, 2002, and circulation strikes were produced at Philadelphia and Denver. Now imagine what it must have felt like at the time. You reach into your pocket, pull out a handful of change, and suddenly one quarter looks completely different from the Washington quarters you were used to seeing. Instead of an eagle on the reverse, there is an Indy-style race car, an outline of Indiana, a circle of stars, and the words Crossroads of America. At first glance, it looks like a simple state-themed design, but almost every part of it has a purpose. Indiana entered the Union on December 11, 1816, as the 19th state, and that is why the quarter carries 19 stars. The race car represents the state's famous connection to open-wheel racing in the Indianapolis 500. The phrase Crossroads of America reflects Indiana's long-standing identity as an important transportation crossroads. The U.S. Mint officially unveiled the quarter at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in August 2002, which makes perfect sense when you realize that the race car is the central symbol of the design. But here's the detail that many casual viewers probably don't know. The final design wasn't simply chosen because someone thought a race car looked good on a coin. According to the U.S. Mint, Indiana's commemorative quarter selection committee received and reviewed more than 3,700 design suggestions from across the state before the final design was selected. Think about that. Thousands of ideas competed for the chance to become part of American pocket change, and the design that ultimately won brought together Indiana's state outline, an Indy car, the famous state motto, and those 19 stars. That means when you hold a 2002 Indiana quarter today, you're not simply holding a piece of metal produced by a machine. You're holding the final result of a design process that involved thousands of ideas and represented an entire state's identity. And this is where the story becomes personal. Imagine finding one of these coins today inside an old coffee can, a forgotten drawer, a childhood collection, or a jar that hasn't been opened in 20 years. You pick it up and notice the date, 2002. You turn it over and see Indiana. You notice the race car. Then your eyes move toward the stars. You might suddenly wonder, could this be one of the valuable ones? That question is understandable, but experienced collectors approach it differently. Instead of immediately asking how much the coin is worth, they first ask what the coin actually is. Is it Philadelphia or Denver? Is it circulated or uncirculated? Is it a normal business strike or a proof? Does it show a genuine mint-made error or simply damage from years of use? Does it have a recognized variety? And perhaps most importantly, does the coin have the kind of condition collectors actually want? Those questions are much more useful than simply searching the internet for the biggest number attached to a 2002 Indiana quarter. The ordinary examples were made for everyday commerce, and the U.S. Mint offered Indiana quarters from Philadelphia and Denver in rolls and bags for the public. That matters because the coin was never intended to be rare merely because it was from Indiana. Millions entered circulation, which means finding a normal circulated example today isn't automatically a major discovery. In fact, if you pull a worn 2002 Indiana quarter from your pocket, the safest assumption is that it is simply a normal quarter until evidence shows otherwise. And that's an important lesson because coin collecting is full of excitement, but it is also full of exaggerated claims. You may see someone online say that a certain common quarter is worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but a listing price isn't proof that a coin actually sold for that amount. And one extraordinary example doesn't automatically make every coin from that year valuable. A responsible collector looks for documented sales, recognized varieties, professional opinions, and condition. So let's imagine our discovery again. You have your 2002 Indiana quarter on the table. You don't clean it. You don't polish it. You don't scratch it. You don't put chemicals on it to make it brighter. You simply place it under good light and begin examining it. First, check the date. 2002. Good. Next, look for the mint mark on the obverse, near Washington's portrait. A P indicates Philadelphia, while a D indicates Denver. Those are the two facilities identified by the mint for the circulating Indiana quarters. Then turn the coin over. Look at the race car. Look at the state outline. Look at the 19 stars. Look at the lettering. Look at the surfaces around the design. Now ask yourself, does anything look genuinely unusual? Or does it simply look like a coin that has been handled for years? That distinction is critical. A scratch isn't automatically an error. A dent isn't automatically an error. A dark stain isn't automatically an error. A strange color isn't automatically an error. Coins live rough lives. They bounce around in machines, rub against other coins, sit in pockets, pass through vending machines, get dropped on sidewalks, and sometimes get exposed to chemicals or moisture. All of those things can create dramatic-looking damage. A genuine mint error, on the other hand, results from something going wrong during production. That is why serious collectors don't simply look for something weird. They look for something that can be explained by the minting process. And that brings us to one of the most important ideas in this entire story. Evidence beats excitement. If you think your 2002 Indiana quarter has an unusual feature, photograph it clearly, compare it with known examples, and if necessary, seek an opinion from an experienced coin dealer or professional. Grading service. Don't alter the coin while you're investigating it. A coin's original surface can be important, and cleaning can leave permanent marks that hurt its collector appeal. Now let's step back from the individual coin and look at the bigger picture. Why did the state quarters become so popular? Because they transformed ordinary change into a national treasure hunt. You didn't have to visit a museum to find something interesting. You didn't need a huge budget. You could find the next piece of the collection at the grocery store, in your change at a restaurant, inside a vending machine, or at the bottom of a family coin jar. The 2002 Indiana quarter was part of that experience. People weren't just spending quarters anymore. They were looking at them. Parents were teaching children to search for states. Friends were comparing collections. Travelers were bringing coins home from different parts of the country. And suddenly, an object most people had ignored for decades became something worth examining. That's the psychology behind modern coin collecting. The thrill isn't always knowing you have something valuable. Sometimes the thrill is not knowing. You hold the coin, you see the date, and you wonder where it has been. Maybe it was used in Indiana in 2002, maybe it traveled across the country. Maybe it sat in someone's collection for years. Maybe it was spent, recovered, spent again, and eventually ended up in your hands. A quarter can move through thousands of people's lives without leaving any written record. And that invisible journey is part of what makes everyday coins so fascinating. Now look again at the Indiana design. The race car is positioned over the outline of the state, and the 19 stars surround the design. The U.S. Mint explained that the race car honors Indiana's famous Indianapolis 500 tradition, while the stars represent Indiana's place as the 19th state. The design is compact, but it tells a surprisingly large story. Indiana's history, transportation, identity, and racing culture are all compressed into a piece of metal that fits between your fingers. And there's another interesting part of the original release. The U.S. Mint didn't just put the coins into circulation and forget about them. It offered Indiana quarters in 2 roll sets and bags, including Philadelphia and Denver examples. Beginning August 2, 2002, the Mint also produced collector products, including an official Indiana First Day coin cover containing examples from Philadelphia and Denver. So from the beginning, there were multiple ways collectors could encounter the Indiana quarter. Some coins were destined for everyday transactions, while others were preserved by people who wanted to build collections. That difference can matter today because a carefully preserved coin and a heavily circulated coin may look like completely different objects, even though they share the same date and design. Now, if you're wondering whether a 2002 Indiana quarter can ever become genuinely interesting in the market, the answer is yes, but the reason matters. Collectors may pay attention to exceptional condition, certified high-grade examples, proof issues, silver proof issues, recognized varieties, and legitimate mint errors. But each category has to be identified correctly. A proof coin isn't automatically rare just because it looks different from a circulation strike. A silver proof isn't the same thing as a regular quarter. A high-grade coin isn't automatically worth a huge amount just because it is shiny, and an unusual mark isn't automatically a mint error. Identification comes first, valuation comes second. That rule can save you from both disappointment and bad information. Now imagine 2 2002 Indiana quarters sitting next to each other. At a quick glance, they look identical. But one has been carried in a pocket for 20 years. Its high points are worn, its surfaces have contact marks, and its original luster is mostly gone. The other has been carefully stored since 2002. Its details are sharper, the surfaces are cleaner, and it may qualify for a much higher grade if professionally evaluated. Same design, same date, same denomination. Completely different collecting appeal. That's why condition is such a major part of coin collecting. Professional grading is an attempt to standardize that condition. But even within the same grade, collectors can have preferences based on eye appeal and surface quality. And this is another reason you shouldn't trust a single internet price as a guaranteed value. Coin markets change. Buyers differ. Grades differ. Certification matters. Actual auction results can be very different from optimistic asking prices. So if someone tells you every 2002 Indiana quarter is worth $500, the correct response isn't excitement, it's skepticism. Ask them which mint mark, what grade, what variety, what error, what documented sale supports that price. Those questions turn a rumor into an investigation. And that's the kind of investigation we want here at Ultimate Coins World. We aren't interested in promising that every coin is a jackpot. We're interested in finding out what makes a coin genuinely interesting. And sometimes the answer is surprisingly simple. Maybe your quarter is worth face value. That's okay. You still have a piece of a major American coin program. Maybe it's a well-preserved example. Now you have something collectors might appreciate more. Maybe it's a proof. Now you have a different type of issue to identify. Maybe you find a genuine mint error. Now the investigation becomes much more serious. But don't decide which category your coin belongs to based on a blurry photograph or a dramatic social media headline. Use evidence. Use comparison. Use reputable references. And preserve the coin while you're doing it. Here's another reason the Indiana quarter is especially fun to collect. The design itself invites questions. Why a race car? Why 19 stars? Why the phrase Crossroads of America? Once you know the answers, the coin becomes much more than a piece of pocket change. Indiana's statehood date, 1816, appears on the reverse, and the 19 stars connect the coin to the state's position in the Union. The race car connects it to the Indianapolis 500 and Indiana's automotive heritage. The phrase "crossroads of America" connects the design to Indiana's transportation identity. Even the location chosen for the coin's unveiling, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, was a deliberate match for the design's central theme. So imagine being at that unveiling in 2002. The quarter is no longer just an object in a coin press. It is being presented as a symbol of the state. Cameras are recording the moment. Officials are talking about Indiana's history. Racing figures are part of the event. And then, within a short time, the same design begins appearing in ordinary transactions across the country. A coin that had just been unveiled at one of America's most famous racetracks could soon be sitting in someone's pocket thousands of miles away. That's the strange life of circulating money. History can become ordinary almost overnight. 24 years later, that ordinary object suddenly feels old enough to investigate. And that's why 2002 is interesting. It's not ancient. It's not a 19th century rarity, but it belongs to a modern generation of coins that millions of Americans grew up collecting. Many people who were children when the state quarters program began are now adults with their own collections. And nostalgia can be a powerful part of collecting. People remember filling folders, checking change with parents, or trying to find the final state they needed. The emotional connection can make these coins meaningful even when their monetary value is modest. That's something price guides can't always measure. A coin can be financially ordinary and personally priceless. Maybe the Indiana quarter reminds someone of a grandparent who started their collection. Maybe it was the first state quarter a child ever saved. Maybe it came from a road trip. Maybe it was found in an old family box after someone passed away. The coin doesn't have to be rare to have a story, but if you're specifically searching for a potentially valuable example, be disciplined. Start with the basics. Date, 2002, mint mark, PD, or potentially an S-proof depending on the issue. Condition, circulated or uncirculated, with careful attention to wear and surface marks. Design, race car, Indiana outline, 19 stars, Crossroads of America, 1816, 2002, and the other standard inscriptions. Then look for anything genuinely inconsistent with a normal example. If you see a possible doubled feature, missing design element, unusual strike, wrong planchet, off-center strike, or another suspected mint error, don't announce a value before confirming what you have. Photograph it, compare it with known examples. Seek expert authentication if the evidence supports it. This approach might sound slower than simply shouting "rare" at the camera, but it is much more useful for viewers and much more honest. And honestly, the slower approach can be more exciting, because now you're not just watching a video about a quarter. You're participating in the investigation. You can pause this video, find your own 2002 Indiana quarter, and examine it alongside the story. Maybe you'll notice something you've never seen before. Maybe you'll realize your coin is completely normal. Both outcomes are useful. A normal coin teaches you what normal looks like, and that's essential if you ever hope to recognize a genuine error. You cannot identify an unusual coin until you understand the ordinary version first. So if you're holding one right now, look at the obverse. George Washington's portrait is there, along with Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and the quarter denomination. Find the mint mark, then flip it over. Don't rush. Let your eyes move around the design. Indiana, 1816, the race car, the outline of the state, the 19 stars, Crossroads of America, 2002E. Pluribus unum. Somewhere in those details is the entire purpose of the coin. Now consider something that is easy to forget. Coins aren't frozen in time. They change as they circulate. A fresh coin leaving the mint has crisp details and original surfaces. After years of use, those surfaces record the environment around them. Small scratches appear. High points become smoother. Luster fades. Edges receive marks. The coin becomes a physical record of movement. In a way, a circulated quarter is like a tiny traveler that has returned home with scars from the journey. That's why two coins made minutes apart can look dramatically different 20 years later. And that is also why collectors sometimes prefer untouched examples. They allow you to see more of what the mint originally produced. If you happen to find an unusually nice 2002 Indiana quarter, protect it. Put it somewhere safe. Don't rub it with a cloth. Don't use silver polish. Don't soak it in household chemicals. Don't try to make it look new. The safest choice for an ordinary collector is usually to leave the coin alone. If you eventually submit it for professional grading, the graders can evaluate the coin in its current state. Now, could a 2002 Indiana quarter ever sell for substantially more than face value? Yes, under the right circumstances. But the phrase "under the right circumstances" is the entire story. Exceptional grades, special proof or silver proof issues, verified errors, and certain collector-focused pieces can have stronger demand than ordinary circulated coins. But the value must be tied to an identifiable reason. There should be something specific about the coin that explains why a buyer would pay more. That's the principle to remember every time you see a viral coin claim. Don't ask, "How much did somebody say it is worth?" Ask, "What makes this particular coin different?" Once you answer that question, valuation becomes much easier. And this is where the U.S. Mint's original history becomes so useful. The mint itself tells us exactly why Indiana's design looks the way it does and how it was released. The coin was the 19th state quarter. The design honored the Indianapolis 500. The 19 stars represented Indiana's statehood order, and circulation production took place at Philadelphia and Denver. Those facts give us a foundation. From there, the collector's job is to examine the individual coin. It's almost like solving a mystery where the clues are stamped into metal, and perhaps that's why a quarter can hold someone's attention for 20 minutes. It isn't really about 25 cents. It's about curiosity. The same curiosity that makes someone open an old box in an attic. The same curiosity that makes someone look through a grandfather's coin jar. The same curiosity that makes someone ask, "Why does this one look different?" Coin collecting rewards that curiosity because every answer leads to another question. Why was this design chosen? How many were made? Which mint struck this one? How did it get here? Is the condition unusually good? Is the strange mark damage or an error? Has a similar example sold recently? What would a professional grader say? And suddenly, that quarter has taken you much further than you expected. That's the real story of the 2002 Indiana State Quarter. It isn't a guaranteed fortune, and it shouldn't be presented that way. It is something more interesting. A common American coin with a strong historical identity and possibility of becoming a more serious collectible when its condition, issue, variety, or error gives collectors a specific reason to care. The U.S. Mint's own account makes the story even stronger because the design emerged from more than 3,700 suggestions and was officially unveiled at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That means the coin story began long before it entered your pocket. It began with people imagining how Indiana should represent itself on a national coin. Then the Mint turned that idea into billions of moments of everyday life, people spending it, saving it, losing it, finding it, and eventually collecting it. Maybe the 2002 Indiana quarter in your hand has been through all of that. Maybe it hasn't. We can't know its entire journey, but we can read some of its history from the coin itself. Its wear tells us how much it circulated. Its surfaces tell us how it was treated. Its mint mark tells us where the circulation strike came from. Its design tells us what Indiana wanted America to remember. And its date tells us exactly when this small piece of history entered the world. So the next time a 2002 Indiana quarter appears in your change, don't just look at the number 25 cents. Look at the race car. Look at the 19 stars. Look at the Indiana outline. Look at the words, Crossroads of America. Then ask yourself the question that every good collector eventually learns to ask. What story is this coin carrying? Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe it's an ordinary circulated quarter worth its face value. Maybe it's a beautifully preserved example worth setting aside. Maybe it's a proof or another collector issue. Or maybe, after careful examination and proper verification, you found something genuinely unusual. The point is not to promise that every coin is valuable. The point is to teach yourself how to recognize the difference. That's what turns a casual search through pocket change into real collecting. And if you've enjoyed this journey through the 2002 Indiana State Quarter, Subscribe to Ultimate Coins World, because there are still millions of coins moving through American hands every day, and every one of them has a story. Before you spend your next quarter, take a second look. Check the date, check the mint mark, check the condition. Compare what you see with trusted information. And if something doesn't look right, don't clean it, don't alter it, and don't trust a huge price claim without evidence. Preserve it, investigate it, and let the facts tell you what you actually have. Because sometimes the most exciting coin isn't the one that screams rare from across the room. Sometimes it's the quiet little quarter, sitting at the bottom of your change jar, the one you almost spent, the one that makes you stop, turn it over, and wonder what happened to it during all those years. And that moment of curiosity is where every great coin collecting story begins.